Stay safe. Let's talk about that misinformation Nick was just referring to. If there's one thing communists really excelled at, beyond murdering millions of their own people, I mean, it's been propaganda. The Soviets turned indoctrination into an art form, one that's still appreciated by some today as just that, an art form. Now, from Crimea to the tense standoff we're watching in eastern Ukraine, it's clear that Moscow is taking a page from the old masters and bringing this fight to the airwaves. Let's bring in Leon Aron. He's Director of Russian Studies at the American Enterprise Institute. Leon, thanks for being here. Let's look at one glaring example from Forbes.com. 3 different Russian TV channels have reportedly aired 3 different interviews with this guy. He's identified in all of them as Andrei Petkov. He's shown lying wounded in a hospital in southern Ukraine. In one interview, he's a German spy. In another exclusive, he's a repentant extremist beaten to a pulp. In yet another one, he's a pediatric surgeon who was attacked by neo-Nazi extremists. Explain how this kind of propaganda is being used in this standoff.
Well, actually, he kind of encapsulates the overall story, because from the moment Putin started the Crimean escapade, the story was the government is a neo-Nazi fascist government supported by the U.S. and the West. And by the way, and also supported by arms. And Putin used the term boyeviki, which is what they apply to the Muslim terrorists in Chechnya. And the third is that it's all against Russia. It's all against the Russian-speaking population of Ukraine. So we see the incarnations here. He's a German spy or something to that effect. He's a pediatric surgeon attacked by neo-Nazis. He could have been an ethnic Russian attacked by Ukrainian Nazis. This is all there. But I tell you, I was there in 1968, a teenager in Moscow, and I don't recall the level of propaganda reaching this amount of frenzy and brazenness and hysteria. For example, nobody used, a term for for forced sexual intercourse to describe U.S. policies. Putin did in his speech on March 18th.
So, obviously, every country uses propaganda. The United States government uses propaganda. What's the difference between what our government does or has done historically and what Putin's government is doing? And is it working, do you think?
Well, the basic difference is that the U.S. government, I remember I used to do a show in Russian for the Voice of America. You know that the Voice of America is not allowed to broadcast in the United States because it was considered by Congress too dangerous, and it was licensed only to do it outside. Well, flip it around. There are no television channels from where Russians take 95% of its news. No television channels that are either not directly owned by the government or censored by the government. No criticism of Putin is allowed. No critic of the regime is allowed. That's the basic difference.
But people in Russia know that. It's still working, though? It's still effective?
It's still effective because if you, especially with the older generation, because Putin uses certain kind of overarching themes. The West is against us. NATO is now almost always used in conjunction with Nazis. So that appeals to the historic memory.
That's very resonant because Russia lost millions against
Very 20 million. It's very resonant. And to the extent that the younger people or the intelligentsia want to go and check it on the internet, he does not care. Those 2/3 of Russians, by the latest poll, that believe it is his base. He doesn't care about what you think, what the U.S. thinks. It may seem ludicrous and ridiculous. He doesn't care.
And lastly, quickly, if you would, Putin's an old KGB agent. He's fond of appearing in his own propaganda as a bare-chested, tiger-hunting bad boy. There he is hunting in one of his things. There he's playing hockey. We laugh at it in this country. Does it work over there?
Well, again, it doesn't matter that you laugh. And by the way, that's the difference with the Soviet leaders. They cared very much whether the West laughed at them. Putin doesn't care. He cares about his political base. And the idea is, here's our guy. He's strong. He's macho. He knows how to do things. And he is an image of a new Russian. Remember, Mussolini liked to show his muscles as well.
Interesting. All right, Leon Aron, thank you so much. We really appreciate it.